Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome back to the MTL Sports Podcast, episode 12, the big one too. For today's episode, we will go over our NBA regular season grading series with the Charlotte Hornets and the San Antonio Spurs, winners of the Wemby Sweepstakes. Second, we will go over our NFL way too early power rankings. We will go through 11 through 20 today, our choices there. And of course, we're going to finish with our rapid fire. So stay tuned, y'all. Hi, everyone. Let's kick off our first segment of the evening. We have our NBA regular season grading series returns today with two of the let's just say it, the two of the bums of the NBA, right? The two underdogs, the two teams with the 1 and 2 picks respectively. We're talking about the Spurs and the Hornets. So Lawrence, I'll kick it off to you to start. Whatever conference you want to start first, just take it away.
Take it away? What do you like me to do with it? All right. I'll throw it up in the air for you. I'll start with the Hornets because we're East Coast, And, a little bit more to talk about than the other one because, the other one's just going to get Wemby. So,
this is true.
I mean, you got to think about it. Like, okay, so they're losing Miles Bridges off their books. Or is he coming back? Who knows?
Who knows?
Still crazy, a whole thing going on over there. So we're not even going to touch on that one until something gets more figured out than that. Possibly losing PJ Washington, Kelly Oubre, Dennis Smith Jr., Theo Maledon. Yeah, some of those guys you can bring back. I think PJ Washington's a decent player. He might try to go test the market though, because someone might want his skills. He does everything he's supposed to, right? Especially rebounding. There's some teams in Cleveland that might want him just because, they need some rebounds when it matters most.
Yes, they do.
You don't need to have two twin towers to try to get rebounds. You just gotta hustles, and PJ will hustle for you. So, obviously, not saying that's where he's gonna go, but obviously, if he wants to think about it, he has viable options to go places. So, I mean, they're coming into this offseason with the number 2 pick, number 27th pick. So, they're getting 2 first-round picks, plenty of second-round picks. I think you probably let Kelly Oubre rock. Yeah, he's a certified bucket, but he costs a lot of money. He's also always out. And you already have that problem with, I'll have to say it, you're already having that problem with the Ball brother. You're already having that problem with Hayward. So you got a lot of guys that are constantly out. Not a lot of guys that are constantly in. Besides Terry Rozier being your Iron Man, I mean, sheesh. It doesn't look great for you. Dennis Smith Jr., he'll probably return on him, somewhere on some kind of lower end deal. Outside of that, I mean, the team's been pretty it's been pretty mediocre. However, if I'm going to grade them on their season, I'll give them a B because I've seen at one point they were going to try, and I think that's the opposite of what they need to do. They need to lose, okay? And they were in a losing stakes, okay? They were trying to lose, and they needed to lose, and so I think that's exactly what they needed to do. I give them a B because they just failed a little bit. They didn't lose enough, and that's why they didn't get the first pick because they didn't have enough little balls in that jar. So, yeah, I mean, if we didn't think they were a playoff team, probably starting in November, we already knew they weren't a playoff team. Like, there was no Ball, there was no Miles Bridges. Basically walking out there with PJ Washington as your best player every game, isn't saying much because, Kelly Oubre was always out. Gordon Hayward's always out. I mean, I think they have one more year of Gordon Hayward before they can get rid of that contract. So I guess another thing that's going to be their problem in their Achilles heel is the fact that They only have about $18 million they can spend during the offseason. There's no way you can go out there and just get some, superstar talent, just, fulfill your team. Like, you might get one guy at best, and it kind of seems like this team might need a little bit more depth, which you might be able to just get that in the draft with all those picks you got. So maybe the key is you just go out there in the off season and just, get a superstar to go along your all-star. I think Ball's an all-star if he stays healthy.
He made one.
So I think you need a superstar for your all-star. Now, whether you can convince a superstar to come to Charlotte, that's a little to be determined. May or may not help with Michael Jordan selling the team. If that's what they're also playing through this season, Michael Jordan not being able to play, maybe not be able to keep the team, he's going to sell the team. They have that over their heads the whole time. I think B is fine. I think you only give them a B because they didn't lose enough. They lost more games, we were getting them an A, Their whole goal this offseason should have been, once they knew they couldn't make it, just lose. And that way you can get the best possible pick as possible. But let's face it, when the Spurs are losing too, there was no chance you were getting that number one. They knew where that number one was going. So that's all I got on the Hornets. My question is, it's like, are you going to pay Ball early? Not even going to let it get to the contract talks in the future. You're going to pay him early, make them all nice and happy. I think maybe that's if Michael sells the team. I think that's going to be his first act. Is going to have to be that new owner's first act is going to be, do I want to keep the team? Do I want to keep him on my team? Do I want to try to go somewhere else? I think that's the way they're going to have to look at it.
Yeah, I agree. The Hornets, they've been in shambles ever since Kemba left, and who knows how long ago that was. So it's probably about 5 or 6 years now. But I think for this season, I'm gonna be a little bit more harsh. I'll give them a C plus. I feel like you said, they didn't lose enough. So for me, they knew going into it they weren't a playoff team. They knew going into it, hey, Miles Bridges is gonna not play for us. They knew going into it, hey, LaMelo's injury prone because he's missed tons of games in the seasons prior. So I just think that they should have. I know it's players don't want to lose on purpose, but they just should have just lost more. So I'm gonna give them a C plus. Another part of it is due to their roster construction. I feel like over the past couple of years, and this is partly MJ's fault as well, it's just the poor roster construction. Signing Gordon Hayward was a bad move. I feel like signing Kelly Oubre was a bad move. They just have too many players that play very similar styles. Like Miles Bridges needs the ball. LaMelo needs the ball. Scary Terry needs the ball. Gordon needs the ball. Dennis Smith Jr., when he's in, he needs the ball. And I just feel like it's too many guys that are too ball dependent on one team, and they all kind of, they all create, some attention, so defenses will, tune in on them. So I think this off season they got a lot of decisions to make. He already went over the free agents. If I'm the Hornets, I think you have to let Miles walk just because you have the second pick. And between Scoot and Brandon Miller, I feel like either one of those guys can easily slide into that Miles Bridges being, he was basically the second best player behind LaMelo. Either one of those guys can slide in and be the second best player on this team very easily. Those guys have tremendous upside, and they'll easily be able to play with LaMelo. So at this point, it's pretty much just whoever they like more at number 2. I don't think there's a wrong pick either way. I'm leaning more Brandon Miller, but we'll probably get into that when our pre-draft show a couple weeks down the line. But just the lack of cap space this offseason. Only $18 million I believe if they don't bring back Miles. So you kind of already alluded to it, but who's going to want to come to play? Who's going to want to come to Charlotte, first of all? And number 2, who's going to be attracted to $18 million? It's not too many guys this offseason as far as free agents who command that type of a price tag. I mean, outside of Ruri's going to be restricted. He's not going to Charlotte. Austin Reeves, yeah, you could give him a contract, but the Lakers are going to match it. Who else? Fred VanVleet, no, he's going to want more.
Hey, man, Dylan Brooks needs a job.
He's playing in Taiwan, unfortunately. Yeah, so I mean, just these free agents they're not gonna want to play there. So I guess for me and what I think they should do is, hey, let their end game be get younger. Let's try to move the Gordon Hayward contract maybe during the draft, get another pick so they'll have 3 picks in the first round, so they can get younger. Maybe find us another spot for Scary Terry. I feel like, like I said earlier, either one of these guys, Scoot or Brandon, they can handle the ball pretty well. So I feel like a young team, you would want your younger players to get more touches. So maybe you find a spot for Terry to go play for sometime this offseason. Maybe, potentially have him on a trade block until the trade deadline. But yeah, I feel like, that's all we have to say about the Charlotte other than MJ selling. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like a cloud over their head, but what can you expect? I mean, ever since he's bought the team, they've kind of just been bad. I'm pretty sure they've only made 3 or 4 playoff appearances since he's owned. He's not the best decision maker when it comes to, being a general manager, owner of a team. And I think it's just time to move on. Maybe he sells his portion of whatever remaining. I know he's still the majority owner, but sell whatever portion he has. And then if I was him, I would just hold out until they do another expansion. And then probably the next 2 expansion owners should be MJ and LeBron. So that's what I think. And let's move over to the Spurs, unless you have anything you want to comment or add.
Nah, I mean, what do you think they could offer the Spurs for that number 1 pick? Try to get Wemby.
Man, you're going to need a trade. I don't think there's any trade out there. The Spurs are lock and key set on Wemby-Yama. So let's move on to the winner of the Wemby-Yama sweepstakes, the Spurs.
I'll let you go first about this, man, because you like Wemby.
Hey, Spurs tanked. They out-tanked the Detroit Pistons, who somehow had the worst record and got the 5th pick. Out-tanked the Magic, out-tanked the Rockets. And somehow, some way, the Spurs get the 3rd number 1 pick, who's going to be a generational talent. I don't know how. I'm not saying it's rigged, but take whatever you believe, But let's get down into the Spurs. They got the number 1 pick. We all know who they're going to select, right? Victor Wembanyama, this French kid who's, I don't know if he's 7'2". Some reports say he's like 7'5". Some say he's like 7'4" with shoes on. Like, I don't know how tall the kid is, but he's damn tall and he's damn good. All right, just look at his highlights on YouTube. The NBA app shows his games like every other day. Just click the little notification and it'll send you to whatever game they're playing over in France. The kid is good. The kid is special. He has touch around the rim, touch from the 3-point line. He can pull up. He can post up. He can block shots. I mean, this kid is legit. So Spurs are going to have one hell of an offseason. And in terms of just other pieces that they can surround this kid with, they had the 33rd pick. So first pick in the 2nd round. We'll see what player falls to that. If they're pretty good at drafting young talent, so I'm sure they'll find value at that 33rd pick. And then they also have the 44th pick via Toronto. We'll see if they keep that pick or include it in some trade scenarios. But as far as free agents, they have Trey Jones, who's restricted, Bates Diop, Romeo Langford, who was traded there from the I think the Celtics traded him. He's restricted. Sandro, I can't even pronounce his last name, but he's restricted. Gorgie Dang, who used to be on the Timberwolves. Dominic Barlow, who's restricted. And Julian Champagny, who's also restricted. So they got a lot of young kids on this team. A lot of them are restricted, so they could easily bring them back for the cheap if they want to, or match whatever offers come in for them. But moving forward, I feel like the core of this team is pretty much going to be Wemby, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Socon, and I think this kid Malachi Bonham. I mean, it's a good young core to start with, but in my eyes, you probably would want to trade 2 or 3 of those pieces while they're still young and maybe get an all-star caliber type player. Like maybe they can go after like Anthony Simons to play point guard for them, or maybe go after. I'm sure the Thunder wouldn't do it, but maybe if they could get like a Josh Giddey to go like run like a point forward for them, I feel like that's kind of the direction they should move. I feel like the kids I just listed are good talents and they would fit well with Wemby, but I feel like they need like another level type of a player to help Wemby have success early on, because I feel like if there's his situation is like the Hornets and they just suck for a long time, he's going to want out. So I think you got to appease the kid as soon as possible. All right. And as far as all-season finances, they have about $35 million in flexibility and cap space. $41 million if they waive Zach Collins. So they have cap space. We'll see what superstars or even just star level players want to, take that max money and come play with Wemby. We do have like Fred VanVleet. We had James Harden, Kyrie Irving, a couple of guys out there, a couple of big names that are free agents. I'm not too sure any of those guys I just listed will want to play with Wemby and play with the Spurs, because even if they did came, they still like a borderline playing team. So not an ideal situation, but we'll see. We'll see what they do with that money. And that's pretty much it with their offseason. I mean, it's just pretty much draft Wemby and hope for the best, right?
So I like your synopsis. Wemby, what position is he gonna play on this team?
He's going to play center because they got rid of Jakob, so he's going to play center.
He's gonna play center, and Socon he plays power forward, right?
Yeah.
All right. Reason asking, reason saying. The Spurs have a lot of first round picks. And I mean a lot of first round picks. They have they own their first round picks, and then they own an additional 5 first round picks. They own 14 second round picks. And since big trades with draft picks are becoming a popular thing nowadays, I think the smartest move for them would be pick up by trading away a bunch of future, because Wemby is your future. Just give up a bunch of this future stuff you have, like, the Jazz did. Well, not the Jazz. Like the Timberwolves did for Gobert. But obviously we're not getting Gobert. We're not talking about Gobert. What we're talking about is that trade. And the fact that you have so much assets that you can grab. I mean, sheesh. There's so many good players that could easily come to this team, and you could pay them. I think, like you said, Fred VanVleet would be a great one. I think just his leadership alone. His ability just to probably tell Wemby, hey, get your head out your ass and just shoot it. Because, that's what Fred VanVleet's going to do. Just shoot. Oh, I missed the last one. Shoot. Someone's going to have to be on the team to tell Wemby that. Like, I get it. He's all the hot rage in France, but he's going to have a bad game. One of his first games is going to be a bad one. Yao Ming didn't come over here and just immediately dominate. So he's going to have a bad few first games or something like that, and he's going to get a little down. He needs a guy that's going to just, notorious for shooting and either having great nights shooting and bad nights shooting, just to tell him, hey, I won a championship. Just shoot. Just shoot, boy, shoot. So I think they're going to need someone like that on that team, which I think Fred VanVleet is perfect for that, like you said. I just don't understand. I don't know who they're going to get. But I think you got to make a splash. I don't think there's anything you can do without making a splash and thinking you're going to do something like immediately. Also, you got to think like, how much longer does Popovich want to do this? I can't remember her name. The lady coach who's currently in the WNBA.
Becky Hammon.
Becky Hammond's going to be coaching this team in 3 years. So He's going to try to set her up well. She can become the first woman coach, but he's also got to leave her with something and not nothing. As for like Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell, I think they're better off on coming off a bench, or one of them starting, one of them coming off the bench and being a 6-man. I think either one of them is way better in a 6-man position than they are on the starting unit. I think they'll have a lot more damage and they can be a lot more effective. And the fact that the team will be a young team, it's not like me being on the second unit on this team is going to mean a whole lot. You're probably going to play a crap ton of minutes. So let's face it, you're probably going to play a lot of minutes, even if you're coming off the bench. So don't take that to heart super hard. And maybe try to get like you need a star here, man. Like, yeah, Wemby's gonna be your star, but he's a young star. You gotta give him something, someone, anything, to help him out, to boost his confidence. Unless we think he's gonna be another Paulo Banchero. I mean, he didn't really need anyone to boost his spirits and talent, but he also was a one-man wrecking crew out there. So I don't think Wemby is gonna go out there and be a one-man wrecking crew. I mean, I don't know much about his game, but asking the youngest guy or asking your first overall pick to just go out there and just carry your team is a lot. I think it's kind of foolish. You think he's going to do it? I think it's going to be a nice little. What is it? I think it's going to be a nice little front court with Sochan and Wemby, because I'm pretty high on Sochan. So I think he should have been. I think he should have been first team all rookie. That was just my opinion. So I just think that it's great to have a young core. I just think that either Vassell or Keldon Johnson needs to be that 6-man off the bench, and that way your second unit has a little bit of leadership as well. So if it's me, unless Zach Collins is, I'd waive him and then ask him to re-sign for less with more incentives kind of thing. Because he's always too injury prone. So I think maybe you waive him, you ask him to come back, and you give him like a little bit more than the veteran minimum, and you tell him, hey, if you play more than 60 games this year, we'll give you an extra $3 million, extra $3 million, extra $3.5 million. If you play more than, I'm not saying start. I'm saying you play more than 60 games at least, because he can't even play 30. So, let's double your start, or not double your play time, and see what you can get us. Outside of that, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like the Spurs kind of waste kind of good talent, which I think Vassell might get a little wasted, playing here for a little bit too long. Like Murray and White, they were here, but they've since left and prospered a little bit more. I'd say more Derek White than Murray, because, Murray's kind of out in the playoffs early. I thought the Hawks sometimes looked a little better without him than with him, but when he was in a lesser role. So I think that San Antonio needs to find a guy that can go alongside Wemby and get yourself like a Murray, Jokic, Tatum tandem kind of thing. Sorry, I think that's just kind of proven to be the way to go, because I get it. Butler's not as small as Murray, obviously, but Butler's a shooting guard, small forward, and he's playing with his big Bam. The Celtics aren't working, but they just lack a powerful big. And your goal at one point in time is to have Wemby be a powerful big. So why not try to get it early? A great player like, we'll just go back to it, Fred VanVleet early. Like, obviously, Fred VanVleet's not going to be there for his whole career, but like, it gives him the idea of what it's like to play with a true good small guy. So then when you finally get him, the future small guy that you want him to have forever, then boom, you're golden.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the recipe is just to look at the Pelicans. Like, look, they made that trade with the Lakers. They got all those draft picks plus BI and Lonzo. Then they turn around and got Zion as the first pick. And then they immediately cash in some of those assets with CJ. And now you have a good core of CJ, BI, and Zion, along with Valanciunas, who was a good pickup. And that's the core. And they did that early on with Zion. So I feel like this is the perfect scenario for the Spurs to do the same thing. Hey, let's draft we got our guy. We know who our future is. In the Pelicans' case, it was Zion. In this case, it's going to be, of course, Wemby. And hey, let's get one or two pieces. We have draft picks. We can make trades for some of these younger guys and get more draft picks. So it's not like we're just depleting our stash and we can't keep adding young pieces to the core. But like I said earlier, hey, let's try to make a splash for Anthony Thomas. Let's go try to make a splash for Josh Giddey. Let's go make a splash for even someone a little bit smaller, like a smaller name, but maybe Tyce Jones would be a perfect fit. He's a starter for any other team, but he backs up John Morant. So that would be a nice little trade, and you could probably give up even less. That's probably just a first rounder and Vassell. There's a ton of moves like that they could easily bring in proven good commodities and help Wemby out as early as possible.
Yep.
So yeah, I think we both agree on that. All right, that is our regular season grading series for the Spurs and Hornets. So coming up next, we will tackle our NFL way too early power rankings. We will do 11 through 20. All right, everyone, let's kick off the NFL way too early power rankings. We started off last episode tackling 1 through 10. So this episode, we will tackle 11 through 20. I guess I'll start off this time again. And I'm going to kind of do how you did last time, Lawrence, where you broke off into tiers just before you started ranking. I think for my, 1 through 10, those are teams that, hey, they should make the playoffs. And those are teams that, if things go right, should definitely have a chance to make, their respective championship games, right? Besides the top 5-ish who have, obviously the best shot to make the championship and make Super Bowl. All the teams on that list that we discussed the last episode could have a shot to make the championship game. So today, when we talk about 11 through 20, I would say my 11 through 15 are teams that, if things go right, they should make the playoffs. Because, as you know, at NFL, they expand the playoffs. There's 7 seeds now. Only the number 1 seed in each conference gets the bye. So, with that being said, there's 14 teams that make it. I'm about to go off with the first half of my list, which is going through 15. Those are teams that, if things go right, they should make the playoffs. And then the back half, 15 through 20 or 16 through 20, are teams that, might need a little help, might need a trade here or there. But if things go right, they could slip into the playoffs. They could slip into that wild card game. So I'm going to kick off. I'm going to do my first 5. At 11, I have the Lions. I know you picked them on your list last episode, right?
I have 10.
At 10. So yeah, I'm just a spot behind you. And like you said last episode, the schedule is easy or easy enough for them. Jared Goff had a good season last year compared to his standards. I know a couple of his wideouts, too busy gambling at the facility, so he's going to be down a wideout or two the first, 8 weeks or something, but he might not need him. Talking about Jameson Williams, if you didn't know already. But they still have Almar St. Brown. They drafted, what's that kid out of Alabama?
Jameer. They got Jameer Gibbs.
They got Gibbs. There's some good first round picks, even though we kind of dogged on them. But just because of their schedule, just because of how they played last year, they should make their playoffs. The Vikings are kind of shaky. We'll see how Kirk Cousins plays out this year. And speaking of Vikings, I have them at 12. So the Vikings at 12. They got Justin Jefferson. They drafted another receiver. I'm blanking on the name, but they drafted another receiver in the first round. They let Adam Thielen go, who at his age was just slow and pretty much just a short route guy. Could get you a first down if needed, but really didn't play all that well. They got T.J. Hawkinson in a trade with the Lions, surprisingly. So the offense is looking good. Defense is still suspect, and we still have to find out what they're going to do with Dalvin Cook. Are they going to keep him? Are they going to cut him? Are they going to kind of restructure that contract to make it good for both sides? We have yet to see, but with or without Cook, they should still, in that division, they should still make the playoffs because the Bears and the Packers, they ain't it. They ain't it. So I see them making the playoffs once again this year, but I have them at number 12. Number 13, we have the Giants. And some people might say this is a little bit too high. And I feel like just off of last season's success, I feel like they have a lot to build off of. That's instilled a lot of confidence into DG, Vanilla Vic, Daniel Jones. And he got the contract that he wanted. I think did they draft a receiver too? I'm not too sure, but their only hiccup is basically Saquon. Does Saquon hold out all off season? Does he hold out a game or two in the regular season? That's probably gonna make or break, possible outcome of like a couple games for them early on. So with that lingering over their head, it is a little frightening, but I still think they should make the playoffs in that pretty tough division with the Eagles and the Cowboys. So I got them at 13. 14, I have the Dolphins. You might say it's too low. You might say, hey, the Dolphins are a really good team. They just picked up Jalen Ramsey. I agree with all that. Hey, the secondary is nice. Your wide receivers are nice. You got Waddle. You got Tyreek. You lost Gesicki, but you weren't going to pay him anyway. But it's just their quarterback, man. Their quarterback, he just stays hurt too much, and I don't trust Tua. I don't trust him enough for him to stay healthy. It's just hit after hit. I just fear for his safety, and I'm sure he won't get concussed as much, but I feel like it's gonna be something else this year. Like it won't be a concussion. It'll be something else. It might be like an ankle. It might be a hip. It might be like a shoulder or something. Mm-hmm. I think something's gonna happen to that team. And then they brought in Mike White as his backup, a gunslinger. Those two wide receivers, that's pretty much what you need. Just have someone to air the ball out, then they'll go run up under it and catch it. So they have a decent backup just in case Tua gets hurt, whenever he does get hurt. And I feel like they'll slip in the back half of the playoffs. And then at 15, I have the Seahawks, who had an excellent draft. They were one of my A grades on the NFC side of the draft when we did our draft grades a couple of episodes back. I feel like for them, because of their draft, they will keep their playoff position from last year. But I feel like we will see a regression of Geno, even though he does have JSN as like a short to intermediate, route runner who can give him easy first downs. I feel like when guys are on the cusp of being paid, they always overachieve, right? Because they want to get paid, they want to get the bag. So I feel like we will see a slight regression from Geno. Not enough to totally derail their playoff efforts, but definitely they will probably slide into that last playoff spot, kind of like last year. So, and their defense is still going to be suspect. They didn't totally clean up the defense. They still got some holes here and there, and I'm not sold on them. So, I got Seahawks as my number 15. What you got for me?
All right. So, my first 10, I went a little AFC heavy. I had 6 teams. I had 6 teams in my top 10 from the AFC. And looking at my top 20, 11 through 20, I got 5. So I'm obviously thinking that the AFC is a little bit better than the NFC. But to start off my list, at number 11, I said it last time, I had the Lions and the Ravens, basically equal with each other. I put the Lions ahead of the Ravens just because of the division. 13 The Bengals are going to probably beat the Ravens twice. The Browns are going to give the Ravens a tough time. Steelers are going to give the Ravens a tough time. The Lions don't have that. They have the Vikings give them a tough time. So I got the Ravens at number 11. I think with Lamar getting paid, I think that's what he needed. He's going to go out there and he's going to do his thing. I think their kryptonite and their big problem and their big setback is going to be wide receiver, like it always has been and like it still will be. I just don't think Odell is, at the beginning of the season, they're going to have to try to use him like a number one. And I just don't think he's a good number one. And I think any team's top corner is going to shut him down really good and really easily. So I think he's going to be pretty ineffective until later in the back half of the season when he goes to a number 2/number 3 wide receiver kind of role. But that's going to take the Zay Flowers developing, maybe Devin Duvernay or Humphrey actually stepping up and making a bigger name for themselves this season. I mean, Devin Duvernay did a pretty good job last season, so I'm not going to give him too much crap. But being a number one, Devin Duvernay is very questionable. I mean, at this point in time, your number one receiver, we're just going to call it receiver, is Mark Andrews, which is completely fine. I know we don't really consider tight ends wide receivers, and that's fine. But they still go out there and they receive the ball. So in terms of receiver, Mark Andrews is definitely this team's number one. Like I said last time, if the Ravens utilize Isaiah Likely a lot more, like they did some certain times this season, in this past season, I think they're in a golden opportunity. I think they can move up a lot more than just 11 for me if they actually utilize Likely. That's just because it's going to be a 2 tight end set every time. And that's something that should work really well with a wide receiver or a quarterback like Lamar, because he wants to scramble a lot, and your best friend when you scramble, according to Cam Newton, is your tight end. And all those years to Greg Olsen, that's what he did so well. That might be why Mark Andrews looks a little inflated, but he does a great job at it, especially in the red zone. Isaiah Likely is a headache in the red zone. So if they get down to the red zone, their tight ends are going to be so effective. I think it's going to be the wide receivers getting them down to the end zone that's going to be the problem. So at 12, I have the Dolphins, just pretty high. I don't think Tua finishes this season, and I think Tua may or may not retire this season. I didn't think he was such a good pick when they picked him anyways. However, I think with the backups of Skylar Thompson and Mike White, I think they're going to do enough to make the playoffs or be around contention for the playoffs. But their defense is really good. All they've done is bolster their cornerback room. They've improved their safety room. So the back half, I mean, secondary-wise, they're great. They're going to be completely A-okay. It's going to be that front line that played really good at certain points of the season. They're a lot young, but that's okay that your front four is young. However, when you're just looking at that offense, it's just so pretty. And they got a coach that can utilize that kind of offense. So I think regardless of anything, just because of coaching and just because of the way the roster's developed, they're going to get enough wins to get in the playoff contention, which is why I got them around 12. I got the Giants at the same place you do at 13. I think the Giants are in a great spot. They were a playoff team last year. I think this team goes as far as Saquon carries them. I'm not much in the Daniel Jones carrying them kind of realm, but I think it's more so how far Saquon can carry them. Last season, Saquon carried them really far. Got them to the playoffs where he was quickly nullified, and then they completely crumbled. Otherwise, other than that, the defense is mediocre. It'll keep you in a game. Okay. It'll keep you in a game. So that moving forward, as long as your defense can keep you in a game, can the offense score? I still think they need a true number one wide receiver. They don't even have a true number. I wouldn't say true number one. They don't even have an outstanding tight end either. So offensively, this team is as good as Saquon is.
And they traded for Darren Waller, didn't they?
Okay, like I just said, this team is as good as Saquon can carry them. Darren Waller, outside of 2 good seasons at the Raiders, he's just been injury prone and pretty much irrelevant. So, I mean, last year he was ranked really high as a tight end and played like 7 whole games. That was just pathetic. That's just people not understanding who plays and who doesn't play. There were much better tight ends out there than he was, and he still got notoriety for no reason.
And he
Um,
got paid.
so I'll keep the hate up. I mean, he's a good player. He's just inconsistent on playing. And I just have beef with players who just don't play enough and get credit for it. Um, 14, I went Vikings. I think the fact that Brian Flores is now the defensive coordinator is going to be pretty important. I think it's going to make a lot of. I think it's going to change a lot for them defensively because one of the reasons why they suck so bad is their defense failed them multiple times in games. It wasn't their offense; it was their defense. It wasn't Kirk Cousins; it was their defense. Um, their offense is just going to get better because Adam Thielen, for what they need, he just wasn't it. I think Adam Thielen has found a better home in Carolina because they're gonna use him to get slant routes and they're gonna use him to get curl routes. If you look at the Vikings offense, that's not what they do. They don't run slants. They don't run curls. Thielen is a good route runner, but he can't. He doesn't have the speed to beat anyone like that anymore. So it was time for him to go find a new place because what they want to do is light you up, run all over you, uh, play big boy ball. Adam Thielen's not big. He's not fast. It was time to let him go, and they did. So T.J. Hawkinson will bulldoze a man if he has to. Jefferson can go up high and catch a ball. T.J. Hawkinson go high and catch a ball. So this team is built to go high, be fast, and to basically just keep the ball moving quickly on offense, which does tire out a defense. And the only way to kind of combat that is to play an aggressive defensive style. Like, all right, let's get the quarterback. Let's get to him. Let's get to him. Let's blitz. Try to get the other team off the field quickly so I don't have to stay on the field very long, which is what Brian Flores does as a defense coordinator. So I think it was a great move picking him up to become the defensive coordinator because that was the problem with the team. Offensively, they were great. Defensively, they were horrible. So if I make my defense, coaching wise, I make it 3 times better. But player wise, it's pretty much the same. Well, the coaching is going to make up for some of the players' faults. He's going to come in there with a better game plan every week. He's going to utilize the talent he has every week. I mean, the Vikings showed last season that if they just blitzed a little bit more, they wouldn't have been in so many problems. And that's all they're going to do now is blitz. And I think based on the NFC and who they have to play in the NFC, these are very blitzable teams to take advantage of. So I don't think many of the NFC teams have the best O lines. I think the majority of the better O lines are in the AFC. So yeah, take advantage of every team's weakness that you have to play majority of the time. 15, I got the Steelers. They might be a little high. I just put them here mainly because Mike Tomlin. That's kind of why. I don't think they're a very good team, but let's face it, Mike Tomlin almost always, and I mean almost always, makes the playoffs. So I think last year was like one of the first times he didn't make the playoffs. However, Mike Tomlin is 18-1 on Monday Night Football. That just goes to prove how good of a coach he is. Tell me someone else who's gone, 18-1. The only person I know winning that many times is The Undertaker on WrestleMania. So,
And he shouldn't have lost.
and he should never have lost. So Mike Tomlin should never have lost his Monday Night Football. And I'm going to go back and find out who made him lose on Monday Night Football. And I'm going to condone them because that's just not right. I mean, however, they got Kenny Pickett coming back for another year. Their draft was outstanding. I already talked about their draft, but their draft was outstanding. They had a great draft. Like that movie Draft Day when the owner walks in and he was like, "We had a really good draft." So, I mean, that's just how you have to say the Steelers. I mean, they got their boy. They got Jimmy They got Porter Jr. I don't know how anyone ever let him go back there, but that's going to be a great pickup for them. So defensively, they just got better again. Like that secondary is just always, every single year, so scary, so hard to throw against. They may always give up a bunch of yards, and they're okay with that. The one thing the Steelers don't let you do is score a lot of points. They'll let you get. They'll break. I mean, they'll bend. They'll bend. They'll bend. They just don't break. And I think that's one of the things that is important to this team. I mean, they improved his O line, so they're actually hoping that Kenny Pickett gets some more time to throw the ball. Outside of their wide receiving core being, it's kind of here or there, but they're young and they got a young quarterback. So hopefully this offseason they're taking enough time to hang out with each other and get chemistry and make some noise. That's kind of what I think the Steelers shall do, is make some noise. I think they'll be around the playoff hunt. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll be in a fighting position for it, though.
Okay. Steelers are pretty high. They're definitely higher than I have them on my list. And you might not hear them tonight, so that's I like that.
Mike Tomlin, baby. Mike Tomlin.
One hell of a coach.
He's top 3 current coach. Maybe top 2. No, he's probably top 2. Current coaches right now, probably top 2.
I'll give you that. I will for sure give you that one. Moving on, let's tackle our next 5. So for me, like I said earlier, 16 through 20. Hey, these are teams that, might need a trade, might need an injury here or there from an opposing team in the division to make the playoffs. But they definitely are going to be in contention in some sort. So for me, 16, I have the Patriots. I feel like last year was a disaster. I don't know why in the hell Belichick put a guy who only called defensive plays as his offensive coordinator. And it clearly showed. Mac Jones regressed a lot. They played around with, what's the other kid, Zappy? The other kid they drafted the year before. He wasn't too much better than Mac. They put Mac back in. Mac finished okay, but still nowhere as close to how he performed his rookie season, where he was on pace to be rookie of the year until Jamar just went fucking bananas. But I expect a rebound season from Mac Jones with Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator. Bill O'Brien he's not an offensive guru per se, but he definitely knows his way around the college world and also the NFL. So I feel like he'll be a big upgrade as far as being the OC. They got Juju. They got rid of who's that kid? I forgot his name. They got rid of the one kid. They got Juju. They got a couple other pieces. The offense is looking a little bit better than last year.
Talking about Gianna Smith, the tight end.
I'm talking about the wideout. The wideout that they basically refused to pay, but they gave Juju the same salary. Who's I'm blanking. I'm gonna have to look it up for y'all. 1 second. I am talking about. Ooh. Oh, that was last year. Oh, this is this year. Oh, I get they don't have it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I got them at 16. Moving on, we got 17. I got the Browns. I feel like for the Browns, they're there, right? I feel like the defense is there. Myles Garrett's a beast. And then offensively, they got Nick Chubb. Chubby's gonna run. He's gonna rush for over 1,000. The offensive line is great. It all comes down to Watson. Jacoby Brissett, he did what he could through the first 12 games. Put Deshaun in a position where, hey, the Browns, could have made the playoffs. It would have been a little, dicey. Probably would have needed a little bit of help from the Ravens, and whatnot. But they were right there last year, and I expect Deshaun, couple games under his belt from last year. He's going to start fresh this season. I expect him to play how he played back in Houston, pre-massage. We don't even know when the massages start, so whatever he was doing when he was playing great, hopefully he can get back to that without massages being involved, right? So I expect that, and I expect them to be that borderline playoff team because in the AFC North, it's going to be really tough. I already have, of course, the Bengals and the Ravens coming out in the playoffs from that division, and you already have the Steelers so high, which, I mean, I kind of do agree the Steelers could make the playoffs as well. So it's just going to be tough for the Browns. I just think the Browns are like slightly better than the Steelers right now.
Oh, it was
18.
Nelson Aguilar, by the way.
Ooh, okay. What was I? Oh, 18. 18, I have the Saints. And I feel like the only reason why I have the Saints is because the NFC South, once again, is another weak division, especially when the GOAT did retire, all right? So he will not run that division like he did the past 3 years. It's pretty much up for the taking, and I feel like last year the Saints were a quarterback away, just like the Panthers were quarterback away. They went out. They went out and they got Derek Carr, who's a gunslinger. He had some lapses last year. Obviously, we know Josh McDaniels and him kind of butted heads, didn't see eye to eye. Carr didn't play the last couple of games. They clearly wanted him out. They didn't want a future with him. So he has a fresh new start in New Orleans. That offense is looking pretty good. Michael Thomas should be back. Calamera, that's a different story. We'll see if he comes back. I think the Saints drafted Kendre Miller out of TCU, so that's a nice little backup running back if Calamera doesn't play. I feel like they had another running back join their team. Let me see. I feel like they did. Let's see here. Oh, Jamal Williams from the Lions. Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of. So they got Jamal Williams just in case Calamera can't play because of his, off the field incident. They have another year of Chris Olave. Juwan Johnson's a decent tight end. Defense is going to be good like usual. Yeah, I think they just set up for success, but it's gonna be one of those teams in the NFC South that they're gonna have to compete against, whether it's the Panthers, the Falcons, the Bucks. I feel like they're out of it, so no need to mention them. At 19, I had the Panthers. And you already said it plenty of times on here. The Panthers were a quarterback away last year from really being competitive. And even without like a decent quarterback last year, you guys were a couple games out of the playoffs. So I feel like Bryce Young, he's automatically like gives you guys like 2 wins. So that's a plus right there. It just comes down to these divisional games. If you can, knock out the Saints, if you can knock out the Falcons, you guys can definitely make the playoffs. So I'm rooting for you. I just got the Saints slightly ahead of you. And to finish it off, this might be a surprise, but I had the Super Bowl champions of 2 years ago. I had the Rams. I feel like they can get out. If this is a big if, very big if Stafford can come back from that elbow surgery, because clearly last year he just did not have it. You could clearly see his velocity was off, arm strength was off. Cooper Kupp got hurt. The big man, Sam Donald, not Sam Donald. Did I say that? Aaron Donald, he was hurt. So just a lot of, bad injuries at the wrong time.
So now Ramsey.
Yeah, they were kind of done with him. He ate up too much money and got beat too much because he was the only good DB they had. Yeah, I just think they took a year to kind of retool, get everyone healthy. I feel like if all the cylinders are clicking at the right pace, 2 years removed from being at the Super Bowl, they definitely can find themselves back in the playoffs. Maybe they can make another run with Aaron Donald. This might be his last year. Maybe he has 2 more years left. We don't really know. He's kind of hinted at it. So we shall see. But yeah, that's my top 20. I just finished it off.
All right, you ready?
What you got?
All right. had to listen to that. Can't believe I had to listen to that. All right, anywho, I'll stop hating. So number 16, I got the Seahawks. Whoa, what's up? So I got the Seahawks at number 16. I think that might have fallen a little hard for me, but I just don't trust Geno. I don't think Geno's very good. I think everyone figured him out by the end of the season. And I've said that before, and I'll keep saying it. People just figured him out. I mean, it wasn't that hard to tell that people had figured him out because he wasn't effective at all. So, the fact that they're walking to the season with Geno Smith, Drew Lock, and Holton Ayers, whatever the hell you want to call him. Whatever you want to call him, I don't know. Kenneth Walker, their nice new new wide receiver. No, sorry, their nice new running back they got in the past year. Seahawks haven't had a good running back since, let's face it, since Lynch was there. And my problem with Kenneth, it was his rookie year, and he was constantly out with injuries. So is their entire running back core. And that also just goes back to the fact that their O-line is not very good. And that started becoming a problem when they were trying to plug in guys who weren't very good, and the starting O-line was mediocre at best. And I think this is what I'm going to talk about a lot with the NFC, is a lot of the NFC teams don't have great O-lines. So the fact that you had to keep plugging and placing guys and it didn't really work, and unless Walker can hit to the outside, he's not going to be able to run up the middle very often, and you don't want to run up the middle too often. He's not that big of a running back. However, the perks of the team, linebacker, Bobby Wagner back on a steal. I take that. Devin Witherspoon, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, and Tyreek Woolen. I'll take that. Ooh. You look at that D-line. Absolute trash. Absolute trash. Did they do a good job in the draft trying to fix that up? No, absolute trash. So that's my problem with the Seahawks, and that's what, like a team like Carolina last year, they absolutely lit them up and had career high night in running yards against them. And a lot of teams consistently did that. And they're going to play the 49ers twice. Okay, have fun. You're going to have McCaffrey light you up twice. Okay, that's not going to be a fun time. But, I mean, you're going to get lit up by McCaffrey a couple times. And you're playing in the NFC, and you're going to get lit up by you're probably going to get lit up by the Lions, probably. So there's going to be a few teams that you're just going to get absolutely lit up by. And you're just going to have to accept it and take it on the chin. Just because you didn't bolster your linebacking group or your front line group. So you're going to ask Bobby Wagner, probably at his age is the correct thing, to tackle the guy coming out of the backfield more often than not, which is fine, but you can't expect Bobby Wagner to do it every single play. He's getting older. So that's probably going to take him out of coverage. And who are they going to have to fall back there? I don't know, from the linebacking core. But, I mean, they got a good linebacking core. I just think that front three, because they run a 3-4, I just think that front three is just absolutely horrible. And that's just me being nice. Moving on, I got 17. I got the Saints. I was giving you poop on over here when you were talking about them, but I put them up here. I put them up here just because I want to be safe, not actually because I think they're going to do this. I think the Saints are probably going to miss the playoffs. And that's just me being a little biased, but I just don't think the Saints. I think the Saints are in a win now mode. I don't think their coach is very good. I think their coach is prospering from the Sean Payton era. I don't think Dennis Allen's all that great, because Dennis Allen was the defensive guy, and last year defensively they kind of struggled. And they haven't really bolstered their O-line, and I'll go back to it. They haven't really bolstered their O-line a whole lot. So, I have a nice weapon like Alvin Kamara, but can he be as effective? Last year, he took a step back because he couldn't be as effective because the line wasn't as good. I mean, I think that's why he brought in Jamal Williams, to kind of hinder that, because they're just going to run him up the middle, and he can get poundage yards. So, I think that was the point of that one. But then you look at the defense. I mean, outside of let's see. Well, I'm looking at it, and I'm just questioning here. They got one cornerback. Okay, cool. What happens when you play a team with two wide receivers? You're gonna get lit up. So you're gonna have to think about that. I mean, safety wise, pretty good. I think Tyrann Mathieu has always been a little overrated. So I think Marcus May has been a little underrated his whole career. So we looking at this. You got Cameron Jordan, Nathan Shepard, Kalen Saunders, and Carl Granderson, sorry, playing on that front four. Decent. I mean, they did lose Shy Tuttle to the Panthers. So I just think that, you're going to miss Shy Tuttle. I think he was pretty impactful. You do have one of the better kickers in Will Lutz, so you can all be happy about that because, you're not going to score touchdowns, so you're going to need that kicker. I got him at 17 just because, just so I'm not looked at as biased. Even though I don't think they're going to finish this high and they're not this good, I just don't want to be called a biased person. I'm not really that biased, and I'll give them their due. They're okay. They're okay. At number 18, I got the Patriots. I just think that any Bill Belichick team is going to be well coached enough to win a couple games and fight for playoff spot. I just think that's how it's always going to happen. I think that's always how it's going to be. Looking at their quarterback room, they got Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, Trace McSorley, money, Maury. Anywho, and Malik Cunningham. I definitely think that Trace McSorley gets kicked to the curb. Sorry, not sorry. But Malik Cunningham is better in all assets of the game. Malik Cunningham will probably be fighting for love in that Patriots room. He will be utilized very greatly in the preseason. And some other team is going to look at Malik Cunningham and go, he's not bad. He's not bad. And I only say that because Louisville's only been good with Malik Cunningham and Lamar Jackson. When they didn't have Malik Cunningham and they didn't have Lamar Jackson, Louisville's been trash. So I just think Malik Cunningham's not getting enough love. And I think with the Patriots, and they love to utilize guys in the preseason. I think in the preseason, Malik Cunningham's going to show everyone that he's kind of worth it. Now, problem with the team. I don't understand what they're trying to do. Devontae Parker is meh. Juju Smith-Schuster is overrated. Tyquan Thornton, I don't know who that is. So I'm not going to slander him. He might have a chance to prove something. Most of our receiving core is absolute garbage. Hunter Henry is hurt every other day, so we're not even going to bother him. But Mike Gesicki is a great pickup. Offensive line, always good. He always has a good offensive line, so we're not even going to bother. Problem now, defensive line. It's just there. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just there. Cornerback room. I mean, you're walking in there with Christian Gonzalez and Jonathan Jones. I mean, I don't understand. It's just questionable. Jonathan Jones wasn't even ranked very high last year in terms of pass coverage. So very questionable wide receiver or cornerback room. But, Bill Belichick has always made it work, so maybe he can make this one work as well. I do like Jabril Peppers as like a playmaking safety. It does work well in the Belichick way. So I won't give him too much crap. I think they're a good enough team to try to make some noise. At number 19, I'll finish it off with the AFC. What is it, North? Yeah, AFC North. Is it AFC North? AFC North. I got the Ravens, I got the Bengals, I got the Steelers, and I got the Browns.
Okay.
I got them all in the top 20. And I think it's going to be a heavyweight fight in that division just to see who can probably – and I think they're all going to knock each other out of playoff position. I think the Browns and Steelers knock each other out of playoff position. I think that's how it's going to end up in the season just because the division is so, I guess, overlooked in terms of top to bottom, just, well, well coached, well balanced, top to bottom team. I mean, every team has two good corners. Every team has at least one wide receiver. When I say one wide receiver, I'm talking about Steelers and Browns and Ravens. Bengals, they got three good wide receivers. So every team except for the Bengals has a good tight end. So the Bengals make up for it with their wide receiving core. In terms of running back, I mean, they all have good running back except for the Ravens, but the Ravens have Lamar Jackson, so he's a borderline running back. So I mean, there's no team that's like sitting in that conference that's just way above the other one. Sorry, division that's sitting way above the other one. And I think looking at it now, I had the Bengals ranked here at number 3, and I'm questioning myself. I'm questioning myself really hard because I think it's going to be really hard for the Bengals to get 5 wins out of this division. Just don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to get 4, and that's going to hinder them against another conference team like the Chiefs, who are going to play bums the whole time. So, and I had them ranked over the Chiefs. So I don't know, but I just think this division is very good, top to bottom. Each team has a good corner. Each team has a good defensive line. They've all built their teams to combat each other. I just think certain teams have built their team a little better, and I think the Bengals and the Ravens are the two teams that built their team just a little bit better than the others, in terms of O-line, just trying to make it work, and different things like that. So that's why I got the Browns sitting here at 19. I can't fault them, I can't trash them. I just kind of accept who they are. They are who they are, and they're respectably decent. And then lastly, at number 20. I put them at 20, even though I really, 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 really want to put them higher, but I'm going to be as unbiased as possible. I put the Panthers. I think it's
one spot below me.
I just think that off-season wise, they did everything correctly. So I mean, you're looking at this quarterback room. You got Bryce Young, Andy Dalton, and Matt Corral. I mean, we don't know what Matt Corral could be, but he's actually probably benefiting from this more than people expect. You got Bryce Young and Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's not the starter, but Andy Dalton is going to be that guy who just, Bryce Young has a bad rep out there on the field. He goes over to the sideline. Andy's like, "Hey, man, what you doing? You all good, man? I'm freaking the Red Rocket, okay? I got you." So the Red Rocket's got him. Red Rocket's going to take care of him. Red Rocket's going to make sure he's all good. Because, Andy Dalton's kind of the opposite of what Bryce Young is. So Bryce Young is very smart and has a good head on his shoulders. It probably benefits him the most to have someone who plays kind of a different style so he can view every single game from 2 different lights, from 2 different eyes. I just think that's how I look at it. Andy Dalton wants to go out there and sling it. Bryce Young doesn't go out there and sling it. Bryce Young goes out there and makes precise decision making. And then we look at the running back room. We got Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, and Raheem Blackshear. Now, I don't want y'all to hate on Raheem Blackshear. Man is an absolute dog. I love Chuba Hubbard, but Raheem Blackshear is great in the special teams play. Absolutely great. I mean, we're one of the better special teams returning units because of him. And if they ever try to let him walk while he's still this talented, they are foolish, and they need to make sure they don't. Wide receiver-wise, we got Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, and Terrence Marshall Jr. I'm not overly enthused by the wide receiver room, but then you look at the people that are right behind them. I think not a lot of people are thinking about and talking about. You got Laviska Shenault and Jonathan Mingo. Laviska Shenault is an absolute unit. And they showed last year with a horrible quarterback play that he was easily utilized. He's absolutely exceptional out of the screen game. So whenever he's on the field, you got to think about the screen, which is a problem, and they probably need to get him a little bit more reps. But Laviska Shenault is great. When you have a tight end room of Hayden Hurst, Ian Thomas, and Tommy Tremble, I'm okay with it. That's a pretty good tight end room. You can run a 2 tight end set very often because Ian Thomas is a great blocking tight end, and Hayden Hurst is applicable. He's not the greatest blocking tight end, but he will get the job done perfectly as possible. I will not crap on this O-line. This O-line is O-line is good. It will be a top 15 O-line, and that's okay with me. They got Icky. They got Icky's buddy out of NC State. They got Austin Corbett, who won a Super Bowl ring with the Rams and still plays at a high level. Bradley Bozeman's a great center. And Taylor Moton is a great right tackle. Absolutely, as far as O-line. They're not going to be the best. They're not going to be the worst. And here comes my quarrel with the team. And it goes back to the D-line. So outside of Brian Burns, who we got? We got Derek Brown. I think he's a little overrated. I look at that DJ Moore trade, and I look at it. What do you want? You don't like me talking about Derek Brown like this? Puppy Dog likes Derek Brown, so I can't tell you. Puppy Dog likes Derek Brown. I'm not the biggest fan of Derek Brown. I thought DJ Moore was better. I would rather have had DJ Moore than Derek Brown. But that's not for me to say. Derek Brown does a good job. I just don't know. We got Shai Tuttle to play nose tackle. Perfect guy for nose tackle. He's a big boy. Henry Anderson, we got him out of the Bengals a year ago. Great pickup. Shaq Thomas, Frankie Louvu, great. And now here comes my quarrel with the team is cornerback. I think our biggest problem in the whole entire team is cornerback. I mean, I don't know why you think Dante Jackson's a good enough pick to stay there. I mean, he gets hurt every season. He's unreliable. He's always out. I mean, trash, okay? Let's just say it like it is. He's trash. CJ Henderson, he's okay. But he's also the reason why we didn't make the playoffs, so he's trash. Outside of that, I mean, JC Horn, perfectly fine, good with me. Xavier Woods playing free safety, perfectly fine, good with me. Von Bell, perfectly fine, good with me for strong safety. The backup to them is Jeremy Chin and Eric Rowe, perfectly fine, safe with me. Good special teams room. I think Jeremy Chin's probably going to utilize in the linebacking core a little bit more, so I can't hate on the team too much. I think they're a good 20th seed. We do have the best punter in the game in Johnny Hecker, so be wary of our punts. You'll never get to return them. Be wary of our punts. You never get to return them. So that's just my take on the NFL. I talk a lot, but, I have a lot to say about them.
Hey, and nothing's wrong with that. Nothing is wrong with that. All right, folks, we just covered our NFL way too early power rankings. Remember, we're in late May. A lot can happen between now and the start of training camp. So this list will change when we do revisit it sometime, probably in August or September.
Yeah, we're just trash talking.
Just trash talking. Coming up next, let's finish off the show with some rapid fire. So stay tuned. Let's finish off the show with rapid fire today. We're only going to have one topic rapid fire. It's a pretty light news week. But the biggest story out this week, former Clippers GM Winger, Michael Winger, is going to leave the Clippers to come join the Wizards. Not just the Wizards. I'm pretty sure he's going to join all of Monumental Sports, which pretty much encompasses the Wizards, the Mystics, and the G League team, the Go-Go team or whatever they're called. The Go-Go.
Washington Go-Go's. Don't you listen to Go-Go music, bro?
No, I do not. Unfortunately, I always change the channel. But Lawrence, how do we feel about the Clippers GM coming to join the Wizards? I actually had a good time because the draft is in a couple weeks. So how do the fortunes look for the Washingtonians, the Wizards fans out there?
All right, so the Wizards fans, I think, are going to be doing a great job. I think we're going to be awesome. I think we're going to be vibing. I think we're going to be lit. All right. Draft-wise, we're going to suck, okay? You know what? Just screw the draft. Just screw it all, Just give up all of our picks because, he doesn't draft very well. The Clippers haven't drafted for crap. But he does bring in talent. He knows how to bring in talent. And you know what? As long as he doesn't get rid of Bradley Beal and gives Bradley Beal some help, man, what more can we ask for? Because at this rate, Bradley Beal can never leave us. He can never leave us. It already hurt too much to lose John Wall. And I'm not even a big Wizards fan, but it hurt too much to lose John Wall. So it would hurt a lot more at this point to lose Bradley Beal. At this point in time, I kind of just want to watch Bradley Beal become the best Wizard of all time. And that's just my 2 cents. There's not much more to look forward to on this team other than watching Bradley Beal slowly encompass most of the things he can encompass within the team. Like, I don't know if he'll ever win all-time assists. Probably not. Maybe so. But he probably will win all-time points, all-time threes. All these different categories. He'll probably start encompassing most of them sooner rather than later, especially with that contract they gave him. He'll be here for a while to try to do it. I just think that the Clippers GM is very aggressive on trying to get players and trying to make things happen. I mean, they brought in Westbrook to try to make things happen, and if it wasn't for Westbrook, they would have been swept in the playoffs. So I get they only won one game, but it didn't feel like a true sweep, or a true gentleman's sweep. I mean, Westbrook was having a fabulous postseason, so I think that GM kind of knew how to bring him in and knew that it would work for him. Maybe we got to get a new coach. I think our coach is decent. I don't think he's great. However, this is a very out there, let's go get it type of GM. Now, here kind of lies my beef with the pickup for him. I think he should pass off the duties of GM for like the Mystics and the Go-Go's to someone else. For him to have to run, to literally manage the Mystics and the Go-Go's is a little questionable. Maybe not so much the Go-Go's because it kind of works 1 and 2 with the Wizards, but the Mystics. If you want me honest with you, the Mystics are more exciting in terms of they actually win a little bit more. They're actually a little bit more competitive, even though I don't watch them at all. I'll still cheer for them, I guess, here and there. But my quarrel with it is he going to give the Mystics the actual true due diligence that you can as a GM when he's trying to juggle 3 teams? I question that. I hope there's going to be somewhere that he's taking over ownership of, or taking over Monumental Sports. And, if he'll be a part of Monumental Sports Wizards side of things and not Monumental Sports as a whole trying to GM all teams. Because at that point, they're just going to make the Mystics suffer. And the Mystics, they don't have any right to have to suffer. They actually win. They're actually competitive. I get it. The WNBA might not be as glorious and glamorous as the NBA, but they still deserve the same amount of treatment. So I think that's how it should be viewed. I think he should maybe pass off the torch to someone else who will actually give the Mystics the correct amount of time because they're actually good. So, but yeah, as long as he can try and, make magic happen around Beal so Beal can actually, not just become the greatest wizard of all time, but, have some postseason statting as well. Because he doesn't really have too much postseason status at the current moment. Only a little bit. He needs some more. I think he just needs another guy. They just need a point guard.
I agree 100%. I feel like you're right on the money. I don't feel like he should be in charge of all 3. I feel like for as bad as the Wizards have pretty much underperformed for the past couple of years, ever since, Westbrook came in and we got gentlemen swept, or not we, but the Wizards got gentlemen swept, and that season was fun to watch. I think the Wizards need to go back to how hype it was when they had both Wall and Beal playing on their A games. That's what Wizards fans, even honorary Wizards fans as ourselves, that's what we want to see, right? So I feel like if there's a way where he can reconstruct, maybe find some additional help so that, okay, maybe, he can look over the Mystics, but he only says yes or no to the final whatever recommendations are. Maybe he has someone underneath him that can handle them, and he just says yes or no to very, very important monetary things, basically. Because I feel like all of his attention needs to be on the Wizards. The Wizards, I feel like ever since they signed Beal to that gargantuan contract, which is At this, he's not untradeable, guys, but that contract is going to be hard to trade. So I feel like at this point, they're in win now mode. This offseason, they have a lot. I mean, and I mean a lot to think about, right? Do they re-sign Kuzma? He's a free agent. Porzingis is potentially a free agent. Do they extend him for 4 years for I think 160, 170, or do they ask him to opt out and they can re-sign him for 5 for a little bit more for a little less money? But do you really want KP there for 5 years? It's a lot of big question marks surrounding this team this offseason. Plus, I'm pretty sure they have like the 10th pick. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure that's like the 9th or 10th pick. So
I thought it was the 7th pick.
Oh, they got the 7th. They got picks 8 and 41.
8. So it was 8.
So they're in the upper echelons of the lottery. We already did their offseason grades and whatever. Go check that out. That was like one of our first episodes. Go check that out. But basically, with the 8th pick, what do you do? Do you trade it? Do you package it for like a sign and trade? Like I would love Kuzma to be back, but in all honesty, we need a point guard. I don't think Beal should be delegated to, handling the ball full time and trying to score and dish out assists. Like that's not his that's not his true nature, right? He can do it, but it doesn't suit him well. So best scenario, sign and trade Kuzma to a team that he wants to go to, a team that's willing to pay him, throw in that draft pick, and who knows who you can get. And another name that I'm going to throw out there, I've been saying it all night, Anthony Simons. Good young kid, good young talent, could come in and help this team right away. So someone like that, maybe you can sign and trade for Fred VanVleet. I don't know. There's a lot of options. And this guy, like you said, he's aggressive. Just look at the Clippers the past couple of years. They've been aggressive with their signings as far as, look at this past season. Like at the trade deadline, they were really active. Like they traded Reggie Jackson. They got Mason Plumlee. They got Highland off of the Nuggets. And those two both contributed pretty well.
They also took the step of getting rid of Reggie Jackson too. So it kind of shows you that he's willing to move off a guy. So like you said about moving Kuz, I think Kuz is very movable. I think you should use him as a trade package kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think something that people, we might talk about, like we talked about PJ Washington earlier. He's not a bad power forward to try to bring over to the Wizards. He's not going to ask for too much scoring. He's going to play defense and get rebounds. Okay, good. That helps Porzingis kind of do his thing. Make points, get rebounds. That way he has to play less defense. So Porzingis might like that. You brought up his name earlier. Like, they need a point guard. It's not that they need a superstar point guard. They just need someone to dish the ball out. Well, Tyus Jones doesn't like to have to score the ball a lot. And he loves to dish the ball out. So I think Tyus Jones, like you talked about earlier, Tyus Jones is built for this team. He'll get points when he needs to get points, but he'll pass the ball more often than not. So Porzingis and Beal will eat. I think at that point, you need to have 2 more defensive-minded guys. 2 guys that are gonna, we're just gonna shake it up and play defense, hardcore defense. Maybe getting like a Grant Williams off the Boston, because he's gonna be a free agent. Go play defense there, because at this point, who knows how that team's gonna go, but they're not gonna be able to afford him because he's on the playoff team. So that's just kind of how I look at it. Like, they just need certain guys to play defense and try to figure it out from there. I think they're still like a 2-year out team, though. They're still like 2 years out from doing anything fun.
I agree. And these are just potential names. We'll see what they do. This GM's very creative. He put together the Kawhi PG tandem. Even though with injuries, let's just face it, they've been competitive. They've been a playoff team for the most part. They've been to the Western Conference Final with one of their guys out. PG did that, took them all the way to the Western Conference Finals. He knows how to make a competitive roster. Yes, it may not be automatic. Like you said, it's probably a 2-year project at the very least. But in terms of a signing, I think we have to grade them an A. I feel like this is an A plus. Like this is just what they needed. They needed a guy like this. They needed a guy like the Raptors GM, Ujiri, I think his name is. They needed like a Brad. They needed like a what's the Utah's GM? Got his name. Danny Ainge. They needed a GM like that, and they got their big name. So A plus for me. What do you think?
Oh, I give it an A plus. I think I just like the fact that he's probably going to make a splash. I mean, wouldn't it be kind of cute to see Russell Westbrook come back to the DC area? It's
Can
probably
they
not going
afford
to
him?
happen. But, make him come back on a prove it deal. That'd be kind of cute. Probably not going to happen.
I feel like Wizards fans were like that because I feel like when he was here, no one really talked bad about him. It was just like, hey,
him, dude. We were so
yeah, it was just like, hey, let him do his thing, whether he messes up or not.
We just liked action, man. And I think that's just one thing they lack now is action. I mean, yeah, Beal, but outside of Beal, I mean, Porzingis' game, it's a little boring, but it works.
It works.
But I think you just need action, and I think maybe like I said, Westbrook doesn't really work too well, but shit, dude, Westbrook averaged a triple double at the Wizards.
Let him do that again. He still could do that.
And it would be so easy for him to average a triple-double for the Wizards because he's got two guys to pass the ball to. And at that point, you pretty much let Kuzma walk. But I don't know how much people are going to get upset about letting Kuzma walk. And if you get Westbrook, at that point, you're golden just to pick up two defensive guys for small forward and power forward. And then to have on your bench, I mean, bench-wise, I mean, they'll still have Avdia, so he'll be okay, and Gafford will come in. Yeah.
Kespert.
Yeah. They'll still be good bench-wise. Maybe have to bring in some bench depth. But, regardless, there's guys that they can bring into the team on, almost cheap minimum deals, like a Joe Ingles, just solidify a three-point shot, just to scare teams that, okay, this team's not going to drive in the paint every time. Throw out Joe Ingles every once in a while, and then you're kind of like, well, crap. They actually got a three-point shooter. Because, Beal doesn't like to shoot threes too much. If they brought in Westbrook doesn't like to shoot threes. The only one they're looking out for is Porzingis, but his percentage isn't the greatest. But you brought in Ingles. Well, now people are actually staring. They're like, oh, man, we got to pay attention to that guy over there.
100% agree. They got to pick him up. Well, they got to pick him up because he's a three-point sniper. So, and he has size.
Yeah, they need snipers.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think that's all I got for Rapid Fire. Wizards fans, be glad you got an A+ signing at the GM president spot. There's going to be a lot of success in the near future. So don't be worried right there. That's pretty much the end of MTL Sports Podcast episode 12. Lawrence, you got any last closing thoughts? Anything to get off your chest before we head out and watch this Game 5?
I was a little disappointed on my thoughts of the Carolina Hurricanes. If anyone trailed me, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have even trailed myself. But the Golden Knights are up 3-0, and I also said the Golden Knights were good, so I said it was going to be a Hurricanes Golden Knights final. So we're looking at the Golden Knights being in the finals against the Panthers, and I think the Panthers come back down to earth, and I think the Golden Knights take it all.
Okay. So you want people to tail that or not?
I want everyone to listen to me and smile, and then watch me lose. But then if I don't lose, then you're just going to be disappointed you didn't follow me. So at this point, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. So you might as well try.
Yeah, sounds like it. I think that wraps it up. Besides, I got one more thing. If you're a boxing fan, we finally have the fight that we've been waiting for. We got Terrence Crawford. We got Errol Spence Jr. They're fighting, I think, in 2 months in July. So it's going to be the fight of the year. The fight we've been waiting for years. If you're a boxing fan, you know what I'm talking about. This is going to be better than that Tank and Ryan Garcia fight or that Jake Paul or whoever Jake Paul lost to, whatever. It's going to be way better than all those fights. You definitely should buy. We don't condone all that illegal pirate streaming and stuff like that. Not here on this podcast.
Oh.
No, not on this podcast.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
All right. I swear I don't.
We don't. We swear. But that's enough of that. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for next episode, and we're out. Peace.